The research ship Crystal Dawn shook violently as sparks flew from every control panel. Captain Kethare gripped her command chair with all four of her thin, glass-like arms as another explosion rocked the vessel. Her crystalline body reflected the angry red emergency lights that now bathed the bridge. "What's happening?" she called out to her crew, her voice creating musical chimes that the ship's systems translated into understandable speech. Navigator Silwyn's fingers danced across his console, his movements quick and panicked. The quantum drive core just died completely. Something overloaded the primary systems, and now we're losing power to everything else. Kethare felt her heart sink. They were explorers, not warriors. The Velthari people had spent centuries studying the stars from the safety of their homeworld, where the atmosphere was thick with methane, and the gravity was so light that even a small push could send someone floating. Their bodies had evolved to be delicate and graceful, not built for survival in harsh conditions. "Life support systems?" she asked, though she dreaded the answer. Communications Officer Veltam's voice trembled as he spoke. "Down to 60% and falling fast. At this rate, we have maybe 12 hours before the air recyclers fail completely." The six-member crew exchanged worried glances. They had been studying a beautiful nebula formation when their engines suddenly went critical. Now they were drifting helplessly in space. Their ships slowly die around them. Science Officer Mordun pulled up a star chart on his damage display. "Captain, according to our navigation systems, we're in Sector 7 Alpha." A chill ran through the bridge. Every member of the crew knew what that meant. Sector 7 Alpha was human territory. The humans were legendary throughout the galaxy, but not in a good way. Stories spread from trader to trader about the death world they called Earth, a nightmare planet where everything tried to kill you. The gravity was so strong it would crush a Velthari instantly. The atmosphere was filled with oxygen, a highly reactive gas that would burn their lungs. Massive storms raged across the surface with winds that could level cities. And the life forms that evolved were pure predators, including the humans themselves. The Galactic Union had classified humans as a class, 12 aggressive species, after careful observation of their homeworld and behavior. Their history was filled with wars, their entertainment focused on violence, and their bodies were built like living weapons. They had dense bones, powerful muscles, and could survive injuries that would instantly kill most other species. "Should we send a distress beacon?" asked Engineer Dolwyn, his voice barely above a whisper. The question hung in the air like a death sentence. Protocol was clear about contact with class, 12 species. The official policy was simple: avoid at all costs. If contact was unavoidable, expect violence, enslavement, or death. But as another system failed and the lights dimmed further, Kethare realized they had no choice. They could die slowly as their ship fell apart around them, or they could take a chance that maybe, just maybe, the humans weren't as terrible as everyone believed. "Prepare the emergency beacon," she ordered quietly. Veltam's hands shook as he activated the distress signal systems. "Captain, are you sure about this? The humans might ignore us completely. Or worse, they might see us as easy prey." Kethare looked around at her dying ship and her frightened crew. Through the viewports, she could see the cold stars staring back at them with indifference. Space didn't care about their fears or their protocols. Space only cared about physics, and right now physics was slowly killing them. "We're scientists," she said finally. "We study the unknown. Maybe it's time we learn something new about the universe." The beacon activated with a soft chime, sending their location and a desperate plea for help into the void. The message was simple. 6 beings were trapped on a failing ship. Their life support was dying, and they needed rescue. As the signal raced through space at the speed of light, the crew of the Crystal Dawn settled into wait. They had no weapons, no defenses, and no way to escape if the wrong kind of help arrived. All they could do was hope that somewhere out there, someone would hear their call and choose compassion over cruelty. The emergency lights continued to flash as more systems failed. Time was running out, and their fate now rested in the hands of the very species they had been taught to fear above all others. In the growing darkness of their failing ship, 6 fragile beings waited to discover whether the monsters of human legend had any mercy in their hearts. Captain Tom Bradley was halfway through his morning coffee when the alarm started screaming throughout the New Haven. The salvage vessel had been cruising through the outer rim for 3 weeks, searching for valuable scrap metal and abandoned ships. It was honest work, but boring most of the time. Captain to the bridge. Emergency contact. The voice of his communications officer crackled through the ship's intercom system. Tom grabbed his jacket and rushed to the bridge, where he found his crew staring at their screens with expressions of complete shock. Lieutenant Rachel Walsh, his first officer, looked up at him with wide eyes. "Sir, you need to see this. We just picked up a transmission, and it's definitely not from any human ship." Tom felt his stomach drop. First contact. Every spacer had heard the rumors and theories, but most figured they'd live and die without ever meeting another intelligent species. Put on the main screen. The display flickered to life, showing a complex waveform pattern unlike anything in their databases. Their ship's computer was working frantically to decode the signal, running it through every translation program they had. "It's definitely artificial," reported Science Officer Kevin Harris from a station. "The mathematical structure is too complex to be natural, but the origin point is only about 6 hours away at full burn." Tom watched the translation program struggle with the alien language. Fragments of text appeared and disappeared on the screen as the computer tried to make sense of the signal. Then suddenly, one word appeared clearly. "Help." "Keep working on that translation," Tom ordered, his heart racing. "What else are you getting?" More word began appearing. "Dying, ship, failing, please." The computer was starting to piece together the message, and what it was revealing made Tom's blood run cold. Chief Engineer Jack Miller's voice came through the comm system from the engine room. "Captain, I'm reading the same signal down here. Whatever's sending this is in serious trouble." Dr. Lisa Parker, the ship's medical officer, had arrived on the bridge and was reading the partial translation over Tom's shoulder. "Tom, this looks like a distress call. There are people out there who need help." Tom stared at the screen as more of the message became clear. 6 beings were trapped on a failing ship. Their life support was dying. They were begging for rescue from anyone who might be listening. "Sir," Rachel said quietly, "protocol says we should report this Earth command immediately and wait for instructions." Tom knew she was right. First contact was supposed to be handled by diplomats and scientists, not a small salvage crew in the middle of nowhere. But as he watched the desperate message repeating over and over, he thought about those 6 beings slowly suffocating in the darkness of space. How long would it take to get word to Earth Command and back? He asked. At least 2 weeks of message to reach Earth, plus however long they take to decide what to do, plus 2 weeks of their response to reach us, Rachel calculated. And how long do these people have? Dr. Parker was studying the alien ship specifications that the computer had managed to decode. "Based on what I'm seeing here, maybe 12 hours. Probably less." Tom looked around at his crew. They were good people, every one of them. Jack had once spent 3 days welding hull plates in a radiation storm to save a cargo ship with 40 people aboard. Lisa had performed surgery in zero gravity to save a miner's life. Rachel had talked a suicidal freighter pilot through landing his damaged ship when everyone else had given up. These weren't the kind of people who let others die while they waited for permission to help. "Jack, how fast can you get us to those coordinates?" Tom called down to the engine room. "Give me 20 minutes to prep the drive, and we can be there in 5 hours. Maybe less if I push it." "Sir," Rachel said carefully, "are you sure about this? We have no idea what we're dealing with. These could be hostile aliens using a fake distress call to lure ships into a trap." Tom considered that possibility. It was true that they knew nothing about these beings or their intentions, but the desperation in the message felt real, and the technical details about their failing systems were too complex to fake convincingly. "Rachel, I've been in space for 15 years, and I've never once regretted helping someone who needed it. I'm not going to start now just because they happen to be from another planet." He turned to address his entire crew. "Listen up, everyone. We're about to make history here. We're going to attempt the first rescue of an alien species. I won't lie to you. There are risks, but there are 6 people out there who are going to die if we don't try." The bridge fell silent for a moment. Then Jack's voice came through the comm with a laugh. Well, Captain, I always wanted to do something that would get me in the history books. Firing up the engines now. As the New Haven turned toward the alien distress signal, Tom felt a mixture of excitement and terror. They were about to discover whether humanity was alone in the universe, and they were going to do it while trying to save lives. It seemed like the most human way possible to meet the neighbors. The New Haven dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a shudder that ran through the entire ship. Captain Tom Bradley rushed to the main view screen as his crew worked frantically at their stations. What they saw took their breath away. The alien vessel looked like it had been grown rather than built. Its hull was made of some kind of translucent crystal that caught the light from nearby stars and split it into rainbow patterns. Beautiful spiral designs covered its surface, but Tom could see dark cracks running through the crystal where something had gone terribly wrong. "She's beautiful," whispered Science Officer Kevin Harris, adjusting his sensors to get better readings. "But she's dying. I'm detecting massive power failures throughout their ship." Lieutenant Rachel Walsh was working on communications. "I'm getting a response to our hails, Captain. They're trying to talk to us." The main screen flickered, and suddenly Tom found himself looking at something that definitely wasn't human. The alien captain was tall and impossibly thin, with skin that looked like living glass. She had 4 arms that moved with fluid grace, and her face had large, dark eyes that seemed to hold both intelligence and terror. When she spoke, her voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. The ship's computer worked to translate her words, and what came through made Tom's heart ache. "Please, mighty ones, we mean no harm. We are only researchers. Our ship is failing and we are dying, but we do not wish to anger you. We know what your kind is capable of." Tom was confused by her words until he realized what was happening. These aliens were absolutely terrified of him and his crew. They thought humans were monsters. "We're here to help you," Tom said slowly, trying to make his voice as gentle as possible. "My name is Captain Tom Bradley. We received your distress call and came as fast as we could." The alien captain's expression changed to one of complete shock. Behind her, Tom could see other crew members who looked equally stunned. They had expected death or slavery, not a rescue mission. Dr. Lisa Parker stepped into view of the camera. "Captain, I'm Dr. Parker, a medical officer. How many crew members do you have? What do you need to survive?" The alien captain seemed unable to process what was happening. "I am Captain Kethare of the research vessel Crystal Dawn. We are 6 in number. But surely you do not intend to help us? We are weak. Our world has light gravity and methane atmosphere. We would be easy to conquer." Tom felt a surge of sadness. These people have been so afraid of humans that they'd rather die than ask for help. "Captain Kethare, nobody's conquering anybody today. We're going to dock with your ship and see what we can do to fix your problems." Chief Engineer Jack Miller's voice came through the comm from the engine room. "Captain, I'm looking at their power systems through our sensors. It's like nothing I've ever seen before, but I think I can figure out how to help them." As the New Haven moved closer to Crystal's ship, Tom could see the aliens through their transparent hull. They moved like dancers, their light bodies floating gracefully in their low-gravity environment. But he could also see the fear in their movements as the ship approached. "Captain," Rachel said quietly, "their atmosphere readings show methane and hydrogen. If our air mixes with theirs, it could be deadly to both species." Dr. Parker was already working on the problem. "I can modify our docking tube to create an airlock system. We'll need to wear environmental suits, but we can make this work." The docking process took an hour of careful maneuvering. Tom watched as Captain Kethare and her crew prepared for what they clearly expected to be their final moments. The aliens had gathered in their central chamber, holding hands in what looked like a farewell ceremony. When the airlock finally opened, Tom was the first one through, wearing a full environmental suit. The inside of the alien ship was even more beautiful than the outside, with corridors that curved like the inside of a seashell and walls that glowed with soft, natural light. Captain Kethare stood waiting for him, her 4 arms trembling. She was even more delicate looking in person, her glass-like skin so thin that Tom could see the fluid that served as her blood flowing beneath it. "You came," she said, and the wonder in her translated voice was unmistakable. "You actually came to help us." "Of course we came," Tom replied, his own voice thick with emotion. "That's what people do. When someone calls for help, you answer." Behind Ketharay, the other aliens watched in amazement as more humans entered their ship. Dr. Parker immediately went to work scanning their injured engineer with modified medical equipment. Jack Miller was already studying their power systems, muttering to himself about quantum resonance patterns. "We don't understand," said Navigator Silwyn, his chime-like voice full of confusion. "The stories say your people are violent, that you come from a world of predators and death." Kevin Harris looked up from the readings he was taking. "Maybe we do come from a tough world, but that taught us to look out for each other. When things get dangerous, that's when you find out who you really are." As the humans worked alongside the aliens to save their ship, Tom realized that first contact wasn't happening in some fancy diplomatic meeting. It was happening here in the darkness of space, with people helping people simply because it was the right thing to do. 12 hours had passed since the humans boarded the alien ship, and the crystal corridors of the Crystal Dawn were now filled with activity. Chief Engineer Jack Miller had been working nonstop, his environmental suit covered in strange alien lubricants as he crawled through maintenance tunnels that were barely big enough for his human frame. "This is incredible," he muttered to himself as he studied the quantum drive system. "They grow their technology instead of building it. These crystals aren't just decorative, they're actually living computers." On the other side of the engine room, the alien engineer Mordun watched Jack work with fascination. Despite the language barrier and the need for environmental suits, the two engineers had quickly developed a working relationship based on gestures, drawings, and shared understanding of how things should work. "Your people are remarkable," Mordun said through the translation system. "We expected you to simply take what you wanted from our ship. Instead, you risked your own safety to repair our systems." Jack looked up from the crystal matrix he was carefully realigning. "Well, that's the thing about engineers. We see something broken. We want to fix it. Doesn't matter if it's human-made or alien-made." Meanwhile, Dr. Lisa Parker was having her own breakthrough in the ship's medical bay. The injured Velthory crew member she was treating had suffered internal damage when the quantum drive exploded, but his anatomy was so different from human biology that her equipment needed constant adjustment. "Your bone structure is fascinating," she told her patient as she worked. "It's like living crystal fiber, flexible but incredibly strong in your gravity environment." Science Officer Dole Wynn, who was assisting her, made a sound that the computer translated as laughter. "Dr. Parker, on our world, we have always wondered how creatures like you could exist. Your bones are so dense, your muscles so powerful. You are built like our ancient legends of mountain spirits." "Mountain spirits?" Lisa asked, carefully sealing a crack in the alien's rib with modified bone regenerator. "Beings of immense strength who could move boulders and withstand great pressures. We thought they were myths until we observed your home world." Up on the bridge, Captain Tom Bradley was learning even more disturbing truths about how the galaxy viewed humanity. Captain Ketharay had become more comfortable around the humans as the hours passed, especially after seeing her crew members being healed rather than harmed. "Your species has been watching us?" Tom asked as they worked together to restore the navigation systems. Ketharay's forearms moved gracefully over her controls as she spoke. "The Galactic Union has been aware of Earth for over 2 centuries. We have observational stations monitoring your system from a safe distance." "Safe distance from what?" "From you." Ketharay paused in her work. "Captain Bradley, your world terrifies most species in the galaxy. The gravity alone would crush 90% of known life forms instantly. Your oceans are filled with predators larger than our entire ships. Your weather systems generate more energy than our most powerful weapons." Tom felt a strange mix of pride and sadness. "So you've been watching us this whole time, but you never tried to make contact?" "The Union classified your species as Class 12 aggressive after observing your history. Wars, violence, conquest. Your entertainment focuses on conflict. Even your sports involve physical combat. We assumed that any species that could survive on such a world would be naturally hostile to others." Lieutenant Rachel Walsh, who was helping restore communications, looked up from her work. but we're not hostile. I mean, sure, humans have fought wars, but we've also built hospitals, written poetry, created art. We take care of our children, our elderly, our sick. Navigator Silwan had been listening to this conversation with growing amazement. This is what we do not understand. You come from a world that should produce only killers, yet you risk yourselves to save strangers. You share your food with us, even though your rations are limited. Your doctor works for hours to heal our wounded, asking for nothing in return. Science Officer Kevin Harris was running diagnostics on the alien ship sensors. Maybe that's exactly why we do these things. Earth is a dangerous place. So we learned early that survival means taking care of each other. When disaster strikes, humans don't run away. We run toward the problem. As if to prove his point, an alarm suddenly sounded throughout the ship. One of the crystal power conduits had developed a dangerous overload that could destroy both vessels. Without hesitation, Jack Miller grabbed his tools and rushed toward the problem area. Even though the radiation levels there could be lethal to humans, Dr. Parker immediately began preparing radiation treatment protocols. Captain Bradley coordinated evacuation procedures, while Rachel worked to isolate the damaged section. The aliens watched in stunned silence as the humans responded to mortal danger by working together, each person doing their part without being asked, without hesitation, without thought of personal safety. This is why your species survived your world, Captain Kettler said quietly as they watched Jack Miller risk his life to prevent a catastrophic explosion. Not because you're the strongest or the most aggressive, but because you never abandon each other. As the crisis passed and the ships were safe again, both crews worked side by side in comfortable cooperation. The barriers of fear and misunderstanding were crumbling, replaced by something that needed no translation. Mutual respect between thinking beings who had chosen compassion over suspicion. The universe was about to learn that the monsters from Earth had hearts as big as their legendary strength. 2 days later, the Crystal Dawn was fully operational again, her crystalline hull gleaming with renewed energy flows. The Vel-3 crew moved through their restored ship with graceful efficiency, but there was something different about them now. The fear that had defined their first contact with humans had been replaced by wonder and genuine friendship. Captain Tom Bradley stood on the bridge of New Haven, watching through the view screen as the alien ship prepared for departure. It felt strange to think that 48 hours ago, neither species had known the other existed. Now they were about to part ways as friends, carrying knowledge that would change both their civilizations forever. Captain Bradley, came Captain Ketheray's voice through the communication system. We owe you a debt that can never be repaid. You have shown us that everything we believed about your species was wrong. Tom smiled at the screen where Ketheray's delicate, crystalline features looked back at him. You don't owe us anything, Captain. We just did what anyone should do when someone needs help. But that is exactly the point, Ketharay replied, her forearms gesturing expressively. Not everyone would have done what you did. In fact, most species in the galaxy would not have even answered our distress call if they knew it came from strangers. Dr. Lisa Parker joined Tom on the bridge, carrying a datapad filled with notes about Vel-3 biology and medicine. Captain Ketharay, I prepared detailed medical information for your people, and I hope someday our doctors can work together to help both our species. Dr. Parker, you saved Mordunn's life. Our medical knowledge could never have treated his injuries. Your compassion for a being you had never seen before will be remembered in our histories forever. Chief Engineer Jack Miller's voice crackled through the comm from the engine room. Hey, Mordunn, you take care of that quantum drive, you hear? And remember what I showed you about the resonance frequencies. The alien engineer's melodic laughter came through the translation system. I will remember Jack Miller, and I will tell our people that humans are not the monsters we feared, but the finest engineers in the galaxy. Lieutenant Rachel Walsh was monitoring both ship systems as they prepared to separate. Captain, we're receiving some kind of data transmission from the Crystal Dawn. It's navigational information, reported Science Officer Kevin Harris, studying his displays with excitement. Stellar maps, trade route information, and coordinates to something called Nexus Station. Captain Ketheray's image on the screen took on a more serious expression. Captain Bradley, I am about to give you information that could change the course of galactic history. Those coordinates lead to a neutral trading station where representatives from many species meet. It is the closest thing we have to a diplomatic center. Tom felt his heart racing. You're talking about formal first contact with the galactic community. Yes, but I must warn you, not all species will welcome your presence. The stories about Deathworlders have spread throughout the galaxy for generations. Many will see you as a threat to be contained or destroyed. Rachel looked worried. Captain, maybe we should report back to Earth first. Let our governments handle this diplomatically. That would be wise, agreed Kethare. But I fear that by the time your leaders make their decisions, the opportunity may be lost. The galaxy is already changing because of what happened here. Word of our rescue will spread, and that will force the Galactic Union to make decisions about humanity, whether they are ready or not. Kevin was studying the star charts that Kethare had provided. Captain, these maps show dozens of inhabited systems, hundreds of species. The galaxy is crowded with intelligent life, and most of them have been living in fear of us without us even knowing they existed. Tom said quietly. The weight of responsibility was settling on his shoulders. Humanity was no longer alone, but they were also walking into a situation where they might be seen as invaders or conquerors. Dr. Parker stepped forward. Captain Kethare, what would you advise us to do? The alien captain was quiet for a long moment, her large dark eyes reflecting the bridge lights. Dr. Parker, in my species' culture, we have a saying, the crystal that refuses to sing will never harmonize with choir. I believe your species has a song that the galaxy needs to hear. You really think we should go to this Nexus station? Tom asked. I think that hiding will not serve anyone. The galaxy believes humans are monsters. Only humans can prove that belief wrong. But go carefully, and go as you came to us, with open hands and willingness to help rather than conquer. As the two ships began to drift apart, Tom made his decision, set course for Earth, but also calculate a route to these Nexus station coordinates. We're going home first to prepare, but then we're going to introduce humanity to the neighbors. The crystal dawn began to move away, its crystal hull catching the starlight one last time. Captain Kethare's final transmission carried across the void between the ships. Safe travels, friend from Earth. The galaxy awaits your arrival, and thanks to what happened here, some of us will be ready to welcome you home. As both ships jumped to faster-than-light travel heading in opposite directions, they carried with them proof that the universe was far more wonderful and welcoming than anyone had dared to hope. The age of humanity's isolation was ending, and their greatest adventure was just beginning.